lately.
Hello there, Vanagon addicts. It's Ken Wilford here at Vanagon. Today we're going to show you how to install the metal thermostat housing onto your Vanagon. Usually people use these on a 2.1 Vanagon with a synchro, but you can use them on a regular two-wheel drive also, just with some slight modifications. So what you're seeing here is a temp 2 sensor that gets screwed into the housing. The other sensor has a single pin. It's for the gauge. And you basically just screw them in, tighten them down, and that's pretty much all there is on the install of those sensors. The difference between this and the plastic housing is that the gauge sensor uses the metal housing to ground the sensor. That way it doesn't actually need the 2-pin connector. So I'm just showing you there. We're going to be installing the O-ring, which I usually put some sealant on that, and install it. That helps keep it in place while you're putting it onto the head. But anyway, so your gauge, the only real mod you need to do is for the gauge sender. Like I said, it has a single pin on it instead of having a round plug with 2 pins in there. And really the only thing you have to do is cut the old plug off. One of the wires is yellow with a red stripe. That is the wire that goes up to the cluster. And you have to put a spade connector on there, a female spade connector, so that you can install that on the new single pin gauge sending unit. So that's pretty much it. So this is our, what I usually do to O-rings in the cooling system. I'll put a thin film of sealant on them and then just, put them in the housing so they can be, stick to it and not fall out when you're installing it. Then you put it up against the head and you install the 2 bolts. This housing, it just requires 2 Allen bolts that are both the same length, and they are actually the same exact ones that you use for the CV joint on the Vanagon. So if you had a couple of them sitting around, or you can order them on our website to go with the housing, that would probably be a good idea. Another thing you're definitely going to want to do when you install a new thermostat housing and install brand new sensors, I would encourage that, is to install a new thermostat and a new cover. So the cover itself is made out of plastic, and you definitely want to do a new one, because trying to use the old one over the cover takes a set and winds up not sealing properly. So you definitely want a new cover and a new thermostat to go along with it. So that's going to be the next things that I install here is the thermostat and the thermostat housing cover. On the thermostat housing cover, you have 4 small M6 bolts that hold it down, and that's really all that you need for that. And then I do not put any glue on that O-ring, just because it sits on top of the thermostat in a groove, and you don't really need any glue on it. When you torque the cover down, it will hold everything in place and keep it from falling out and all that stuff. There's no danger of that O-ring going anywhere. So you can just install that one dry without any glue. That's perfectly fine. So and I guess that's pretty much all I really have to say. If you're installing the thermostat housing on a synchro, the port on the cover has to go in towards the engine. If you're installing it on a two-wheel drive van like this, I'm working on a two-wheel drive Vanagon, you have to install it so that it goes in a different direction, I believe. It goes to the right, or let's see, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. You'll see in the video which direction I put in. That's going to be the direction you need it for the two-wheel drive. When it's on a synchro, it actually does go in a different orientation because of the way the coolant hose system is set up. But most of the time you would be able to see that on your old stuff, So just basically do the orientation that you had previously, and you'll be fine. So I guess that's all I really have to say about this. Again, we're doing this not on the car. The motor's on an engine stand. I mean, it's way easier this way. So again, if you're doing your motor, you're doing a new motor, I would definitely replace the thermostat housing. Definitely replace thermostat. You know, it's cheap insurance. The plastic thermostat housings, they like to split with age. These aluminum ones, I mean, again, they're more robust, and you also have the different style sending units. Again, the sending units are screwed in, so they are not going to fall out. Here's the thermostat. Okay, you just set the O-ring on top of it, and then just set that in the thermostat housing, and then you're ready to put the cover on. Okay, so you know, I really prefer these metal housings because of how robust they are. You know, they're not going to crack open like the plastic ones do after, I don't know, 10 years or so. They have an issue where they crack open, the plastic gets you know, kind of stressed or whatever. Yeah, so that black piece, the cover, it's going to point towards the front of the van if you have a two-wheel drive. If it's a synchro, it actually points towards the center of the engine, and it just has to do with the way the hoses are set up. So I guess that's really all I have to say about installing this. You know, on the car itself, it's going to be a lot tighter. You have to, you know, when the engine's in the car, it's tighter, but you can get to it. Usually I'll get to it by going under the car and, you know, looking up at the engine from below. And then you can access, you know, the sending units. You can access the bolts and everything from that direction. And, you know, when I'm doing it on the car, I might actually put everything together as a unit and then install the thermostat housing that way, just to make it, you know, less time consuming. So that's really all I have to say about installing the thermostat housing on a 2.1 Vanagon. I hope, you know, this has been helpful to you. If you have questions about it, please put them in the comments below. We do have a new member, Chris Ahola, so I'm going to say welcome to Chris as a member. And also Fiveable is a member also, so thank you to him. If you want to be a member, there's a link in the description or in the link in the below the video. We appreciate the members. If you want to buy these parts from us, I'm going to put some links in the description for that. But we appreciate everyone that watches these videos. Please like, share, subscribe. And we just thank you so much. And if you need parts, definitely get a hold of Vanagon. We'll be glad to supply you that way. So that's it for now. I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.